A number of years ago, I was teaching a class, and we were each exploring how we did different things that we did. And there was a there were two women that were working together that were friends, and one woman was really good at giving a dinner party or putting on a party, and uh, and the other woman wanted to put on a party but was basically terrified to put on a party. So we started exploring together how each of them thought about it. And I always find it fascinating that the way in which we think about something can either support us in the things that we're trying to do, or things that we want to do, or it can really get in our way. And this wasn't like any really in-depth talk. It was very it's kind of surface level. Like, how do you do that? How do you think about that? And it was interesting. The woman who wanted to be able to put on a dinner party but didn't, she said, "Well, I'm worried that my guests won't like what I make, or that things won't be nice enough, or my apartment won't look nice enough." And so basically, she had this idea of a particular standard that she was trying to hit, and she thought that if she didn't hit that standard, she would be judged. And the other woman said, she said, "I love giving a party." She said, she said, It's okay if people don't love what I make." She said, "I'm basically giving people free food and free booze, and who doesn't love that?" So she had this idea, this little belief that free food and free booze is a good thing, and that people enjoy it, and anything above that was just a win for her. And the other thing was, she was really focused on that a bunch of her friends were going to get together and that they were going to have a good time. And so she wasn't overly focused on how her apartment looked, or that things needed to have a certain formality about them. And so I just love this because it was something so simple, and it really left the woman who had a challenge with this with something new that she could try. She thought, yeah, I can see that. I can see that people will enjoy some free food and some free drinks. And it sort of empowered her to at least give it a shot and see how it was. And it also it let her bring her standard down to a place where she could try it out and see how it went, and see if she enjoyed it, see if it worked for her. There was another time where it was the same class, and this one woman in the class had just achieved the most amazing things in her life. She was actually in the middle of a career change in her 40s. She decided she wanted to do something else, and she was doing that. She had started running also in her 40s, and had already finished, I think, one or two marathons. And she was going back to school for another degree. So it was these really huge, amazing things. And I said to her, I said, at times I've considered those things, but then immediately something in me gets very frightened, and I don't pursue it. And she looked at me and she said, "Well," she said, "I'm frightened almost all the time." And so I found that really surprising, because I kind of assumed, since she had done all these things, that she was this courageous person, and that she didn't necessarily get frightened. And But what I found out when I asked her, "What do you do when you get frightened?" And she said, "Well, in that moment, I slow down." And she said, "I start to try to look at it incredibly rationally, instead of just emotionally, and in terms of my feelings." And she would look at it very scientifically. It's what I call the sort of Spock state of mind. And for example, she said that as she was training for the marathon, one day she was out, and she was, it was getting close to the actual marathon. And when she hit about 20 miles, she experienced this thing of hitting the runner's wall, and where her whole system seemed to be shutting down. And So in that moment, she just made a mental note. She said, okay, I'm gonna get through this and I'll figure this out later. So I thought that was interesting. She sort of acknowledged it in the moment, but she didn't draw any conclusions about it. She just said, I'll handle this later. And then she said she started to break it down very scientifically. You know, she said runners hit walls. So she started researching, okay, what's happening in their body when they hit a wall? How do they deal with it? You know, how are they supposed to respond to it? She found out certain dietary things that had an impact on that. And I think she learned, first of all, how to not hit a wall as often, and also how to respond to it when it did come up. So she would shift into this very rational state of mind, or very scientific, logical state of mind when she was confronting one of these areas of fear. And the other thing she would do is she would almost as a supporting belief or mantra, she would say, somebody else has navigated this before. And what are they doing? And immediately she would look for other examples, other people that she could talk to and learn from to help her navigate that situation. So this is just a little example of how your thinking can impact the things that you're doing, that you're pursuing in the places where you're stuck. And what I've learned over the years is just asking as many people as possible really helps open up new ways of thinking for me. And I find very often people do have some great tips that can help you navigate a moment where you were stuck in the past, as opposed to just sitting there and staying in your existing kind of thinking patterns for that area again and again and again. So I encourage you to go out and ask some people how they do some of the things that you've had difficulty with. Yeah, I could go on and on, but this is a very rich topic, and I encourage you to explore it.